I love you. Don't follow the wrong ideology. Follow Posadism today. Surprise, I'm a speedrunner. This list is more like a speedrun list. Maybe this will give some casual players insight on what speedrunners think about these chapters. But don't worry, I will occasionally make reference on where I would place a chapter in a casual list, because even speedrunners sometimes play this game casually. Anyways, on with the list. You're gonna see Gmod funny bits, you're gonna see funny stuff, and you're gonna see a list. It's just, let's go. The problem with prank call is it's either boring or frustrating. You can either do it right, throw the knife at him and kill him and everything's great, or you can have Fat Guy be too close to you so you have to kill him sooner and move slow for longer. Or, even better, you can miss the knife throw or throw it too soon and he's not inside the wall. Or even better yet, you can make Jacket go too far into the wall to where you just can't reach him. I want to go on record saying that I like the Metro, but this is for speedrunning, and in a speedrun is boring. Super boring.
More or less what you want to do is you go into this corner and you keep walking into it, and now we build up speed for 12 hours.
The only reason why the resolution is above Metro is because of all masks. All masks is hilarious. The audio was unfortunately lost, but the point gets across here. He's solving it, and thus he is now missing pieces and he is screwed. Rip PB. It's hilarious, let me tell you. I tried really hard to place trauma higher, alright? I love the concept of trauma. I really do. But the random movement, the fact that how you could walk in a straight line and not walk in a straight line is a problem. And I really don't like it. I get why they added it, alright? But it ruins it during the speedrun. Because trauma is intense. It's intense. When you reach it, you can get a little nervous. It's really intense, and there's a speed strat too, where you can skip a little bit of waiting to go all the way across, and it's really tight. This chapter is intense. I love it for that. If it wasn't for the random movement, I would place this higher. I tried, okay? Showdown sucks. I don't like it. I personally don't like Showdown, but it's not really a bad chapter. It's not bad. The only reason why it's placed higher than Trauma is because learning the fast strat for Showdown when you're first starting to speedrun the game is actually pretty cool. Alright, so here's a little lesson in speedrunning terms. A screen refers to a literal screen in a chapter. For example, Tension, when you enter it, you're in the first screen. All these are individual rooms, but sometimes people refer to screens as rooms. And once you finish the stage, you move on to the next stage, that is second screen. This is why you'll hear things like Tension 2, Tension 1, Vengeance 3, things like that. That refers to screens. Or of course, you could say Full House, Screen 2. Let me tell you, Tension 1 sucks so much. It's really frustrating because of the randomness. It's a random madhouse. It's just not fun. There's a lot of strategies. That's the one good thing about Tension. There's a lot of strategies you can do in Screen 1, and there's a lot of alternate strategies. There's some improvisation. It can be fun, but it just isn't. Honestly, there's a chance I might place this lower on the list in the future. The reason why it's so high right now is because of my experience with speedrunning this game. When I started speedrunning it, I had already played this game for quite a while. This song is just too good, man. Alright, this one right here. I did a full room combo of this entire room once. That was great. It was hard to do, but it was great. I had already beaten it, at least in the double digits. So when I started, I had a head start. This had the side effect of making neighbors a little boring for me to start out, and it's always kind of been this bland level to me. However, I am starting to learn better strategies, more consistent stuff, and to be fully honest with you, I'm starting to find neighbors to be more and more fun. And that's due to one thing, and it's called multi-kills.
I got 7 Mac 11s, about 8 38s, 9 9 10 Mac 10s, the shits never end. You can't touch my riches, even if you had MC Hammer and them 357 bitches. Biggie Smalls, a millionaire, the mansion, the yacht, the 2 weed spots, the 2 hot blocks. Huh, that's how I got the weed spot. I shot Fred in the head, took the bread and the lamb.
I don't like this chapter. However, I will admit that a lot of my deaths are my fault, to be fully honest with you. And while that is true, it teaches new runners and even old runners alike that your own mistakes can make you more susceptible to bad RNG. To where you can't blame bad RNG, because if you just played well and you didn't make a mistake, you wouldn't have died in the first place due to bad RNG. It's a good lesson that reminds you that you suck at this game. Overdose is rough. So rough. However, I do have some appreciation for the chapter. It allows runners to do some pretty flashy strategies without a whole lot of work. Once you learn the strategies of Overdose, while there is still some RNG involved, it's actually pretty flashy. It looks really cool and it makes you look really good at the game, and new runners tend to appreciate that kind of stuff a lot. However, there is still the RNG. I would describe Overdose as a really, really watered down assault. As amazing as that sounds. You're gonna notice pretty quickly that I have a lot of appreciation for chapters that introduce concepts and things to new runners, because I just love those. I have a deep appreciation for those kind of chapters because I want new runners to run this game. It's fun. This chapter is okay. During a casual playthrough, if I made a casual chapter list and not a speedrun chapter list, Decadence would be rated really high, because Decadence is fun. It is really fun. But during the speedrun, it's a toughie. It's a definite toughie. In fact, the fact that Overdose and Decadence are back to back in part 1 is what makes part 1 so hard in the speedrun. Because you'll see so many resets in part 1 just because of those chapters. It's ridiculous. However, it's still really good practice, because the second screen tends to be dominantly gun strat, and the gun strategy is super good practice for people who have shaky aim in this game. Even then, though, there is still some RNG. For example, the lovely Russian people who have their ears freaking hacked off.
Hello there. Do you like cats? You suck at interviews.
Come on, you'll be safer in here. You'll be safer in here. Clean Hit is mediocre in a positive way. The strategy for Clean Hit is super cool, and I love it, and it's really good. But everyone uses that strategy. The only deviation is the gun strat versus the axe strat in Screen 2, but it's still really fun. As long as there isn't a double-barreled gunman waiting for you on the other side of that double door. Again with the early new runner appreciation. This chapter is so early in the run, but it teaches new runners two really good mechanics for the game. The first game mechanic is a nifty little thing called enemy pathing. Essentially, when an enemy is responding to gunfire, they will find and connect to a predefined path that all enemies travel across when responding to gunfire. What this means is, you can essentially know exactly where to aim your gun, how to shoot your gun, and when to shoot your gun at any given moment if you recognize and you remember the enemy paths, which are typically pretty predictable. And yes, every single chapter, no talk included, has these paths. The second mechanic is idle enemies. Specifically ones that are holding a cigarette, a phone, or are just simply sitting down. Idle enemies who are holding guns or melee act as normal enemies, normal idle enemies. However, enemies like the ones with the cigarette or sitting down will never respond to gunfire. The only way you can activate an idle enemy like this is if they see you in their line of sight. In that case, they will be activated and act like traditional idle enemies. Only downside is these enemies tend to have super fast reaction speeds, like super fast, and sometimes they'll just immediately shoot the moment they see you. And it's crazy. It's super crazy. Full House 1 is super fun. I love Full House 1. The crowbar strategy has always been a fun one for me. And the crowbar is, in my opinion, the best melee weapon in the game. I wish it came up more. The crowbar only has like a quick cameo in that one chapter, and that's it. Screen 2, on the other hand, is a little rough. Your first problem is the Russian people going Ultra Instinct. Second of all, you have a semi-tight gun section that has 3 playstyles. Safe and slow, shy bisexual experimenting, and ultra aggressive. However, while Screen 2 is a little rough, not gonna lie, that top left room where if you have a double barrel or freaking revolver, getting those 2 kills is always super satisfying, man. I have a sturdy bone to pick with Deadline. Deadline is super well put together. It's the kind of chapter you wouldn't find in Hotline 2. It fits really well in the speedrun. It requires good gun aim, the ability to track weapon stacks on the fly, and a really good tolerance for the stupid bullet surviving mechanic. Unfortunately, I have a very little tolerance for the survival bullet mechanic, so I'm a little salty with this chapter. I guess that's my problem.
Hello there. Do you like cats? Don't look at me like that, I'm trying to interview you.
This game's freaking broken, lad. For example, if you kill the last guy with a corpse on your shoulders, the phone call just won't come. You'll be stuck there, you have to reset. After the one guy who shoots at you shoots himself, if you pick up the knife before the phone calls, you'll just be holding a pair of scissors. The game will just give you a random pair of scissors. What's even weirder is that you don't even have to have the scissors unlocked in your save file. It'll just give you the scissors. And it keeps getting weirder. They just give you a bunch of scissors. For example, if you're holding a beer can or some kind of throwable, it'll just give you a pair of scissors when the phone calls. For some reason, police officers can just fade through glass. This is the only enemy that can do that. Safe House is awesome. I love Safe House. Safe House is such a good introduction to biker during casual playthroughs, and an even better introduction to Biker for new runners in the speedrun. I also love the song. Thank you, Scattle, for your amazing music. He made To the Top, he made Knock Knock, which is easily like top 2 of my favorite songs in the soundtrack. Freaking love Knock Knock. This chapter also taught me the importance of riding walls to avoid line of sight. In the fast strat of Safe House, you can actually just try and run straight to the gunman and take him out using the knife without having to throw your knife at him, but this tends to result in death loops. However, if you ride the wall, you can usually reach him without getting shot, and that was a really important thing for me to learn. This chapter would be ranked lower if it wasn't so short, man. It's such a short chapter, and I wish it wasn't. It's a really good chapter, and I love it. Hot and Heavy is a definition of Stockholm Syndrome, I swear. 80% of the time you get freaking punished for just playing the level. And then there's the 20% of the time where things go right. Which, that 20% is the only reason why you freaking come back. This damn chapter. This chapter is a roadblock for many new runners, and it's kind of like this big obstacle to overcome. And the amount of time you spend in this chapter makes you... It makes the chapter kind of grow on you to the point to where you start to love it. And because of that, it ranks so low on this list because it's just been embedded into my freaking brain. I have lost my mind. I keep telling you that. I've lost my mind. And that is mostly due to Screen 3, the East screen I like to call it, or the East room. It requires you to have really good skill with weapons, and it needs you to keep an eye on the weapon stack. Oh yeah, the weapon stack. Let me break that down for you. Weapon stack refers to when 2 or more weapons are on top of each other. When you press right click, the game needs to give you one of the 2 weapons. The way it figures out which weapon to give you is through a first in, first out stack. What this means is the first weapon that was dropped or thrown will be the first one you grab if you press right click. There are many moments where knowing this piece of info can save you a few seconds of time. For example, if you throw an item at someone and knock them over, you are going to pick up your item first before you pick up their item. So if you want their item, you have to double tap right click, so you cycle through the weapon you threw to get their weapon. Focusing on weapon stacks is such a crucial part of high level running with this game. You can't have a low time, like a really low time that competes with some of the best runners without being able to focus on weapon stacks. It's crucial. It's a crucial detail that many miss. Crackdown is the embodiment of this whole game. Chaotic, fast-paced, aggressive play. Bounty doggy. And what makes it so chaotic is how random it can be, and that's what makes it so fun. Problem is that a lot of newer runners, or just some experienced runners alike, you have to be able to think on your feet. You need to have the experience to be able to improvise. It's something you gain from playing the game for a while. And due to that, this chapter is rough to start out, but it turns fun. It really does. But again, the appreciation for new runners, this helps new runners, well, it doesn't help them, it forces them to learn improvising. Like, they have to learn to improvise to do this chapter optimally. Otherwise, they just won't do it well. It'll just be pure luck if they get through it. On a side note, speedrunning has helped me love this chapter casually, to the point to where if I were doing a casual list, I would probably rank this pretty low. Oh god, this chapter is so much fun. I love Push It so much. Oh, I love Push It. Push It's my favorite. Oh, I love it. I love Push It so much. It's super fun. And what's funny is I don't even like Push It that much casually. I don't really care for it. But in the speedrun, it's so fun. Every time I reach it, I'm just filled with energy. Like, it just gives me all this energy and excitement when I reach it because it's so fun. Now, going besides the fun part, it's actually a really good introduction to melee weapon active and inactive frames. To break this down. When you swing a melee weapon, it starts a counter. Depending on what melee weapon you're currently using, there is a set amount of frames that a melee weapon will remain active for. The moment you click to swing your melee weapon, it'll start decrementing from that counter every single frame. As long as that counter is above 0, you will be swinging your melee weapon. The hitbox for that melee weapon will be active so you can hurt people. However, the moment it hits 0, that means it is no longer active. Once it is no longer active, it will start the inactive frame counter, which is also dependent on the melee weapon you're currently using. As long as the inactive counter is currently counting down every frame, you cannot swing your melee weapon. So you're both not dealing any damage, and you cannot swing your melee weapon. Once the active and inactive counter are both at 0, you can swing your melee weapon again. However, the music is wow.
Alright.
Could you state your name to the viewers?
My name is Jack, also known as Jack and Tosh. I go by that in the speedrun space.
Buffet time.
I'm Cursed.
I'm Dump.
I'm Eden White.
My name is Plush.
I'm Spijkrabbe.
Stone Pack.
Yeah, my tag is Triff.
And Urenstein. So, I have a question to ask you. Is Snowfats a furry?
Probably.
Yes, for sure.
So, first question. Is Snowfats a furry?
Absolutely.
Urenstein said Snowfats likes plants. Is Snowfats a furry?
Yes.
Unequivocally.
Fuck yeah, dude. Hello? Can I swear, actually?
Yes, you can.
I cannot disclose this info.
Is Snowfats a furry?
Yes.
Further research is needed. Thank you for coming to the interview, that's all. Thank you. There's something about Assault that just makes it so special. I don't know what it is. Maybe it was a fluke that these guys made something so great here. Or maybe they knew what they were doing. I don't know. But they made what is easily my favorite chapter in the entire game. And in a casual list, I would rank this number 1 by a long shot. Nothing comes close to it. 2, you can't find something like this in Hotline 2. Trust me, I would like to. Screen 1 is really well designed because there's a lot of ways you can play it, especially in a casual run. You can do a full screen combo, which I think is a 19 times combo with Brandon, using melee. Just melee. I've done it, it's really fun. You can ring the dinner bell with a gun and use Don Juan to kill everyone with a door, kinda like what you can do with Tension. You can just go on a sniping spree using Peter to shoot from distances and not get chased down by a bunch of people. And then of course there's Screen 2, which is easily super fun in a speedrun. But in a casual playthrough, there's still a lot you can do. I love it. It's great. Then there's Screen 3, which some people don't like, but I love it. However, Screen 3 is why it's a little shaky in the speedrun. The RNG in Screen 3 can result in you dying without you being able to do a single thing about it, without having to sacrifice an unreasonable amount of time. But even then, it's still my second favorite chapter in the entire speedrun. Maybe it's a fluke that these guys just made something so great that I love so much. Regardless what it is, I love Assault. This speedrun is so fun. And once you finally pass Assault and its rough RNG, this is your last roadblock. While there is still more to come, there's still Showdown, there's still Resolution, there's still fun and games, there's still some more to do. It's still the one chapter that tells you if this run is gonna die right now or if it's actually gonna go somewhere. There is hardly any RNG here. It's just about your skill. It's a test of how well you can play, how good you are at handling your nerves and keeping your nerves in check. This is the last chapter that really defines if this run can be something. You could have a perfect part 1, part 2, part 3, and lose it all right now. Because vengeance is hard. And that's what makes this particular chapter so special. It's the chapter where you finally find out if this can be a PB or even a world record. All that time, all that effort, doing these complicated strategies, thinking on your feet, trying to figure out how to stay alive and not lose time. All that effort leads up to this moment where you gotta make sure you don't die by the fat guy, or maybe you don't get screwed over. Make sure you don't travel too far so the fat guy doesn't smack you too early. Make sure you don't time your swing wrong to where you miss one of the guys and they take you out. Make sure you don't miss the SMG shots, or maybe the melee swings, or anything like that. Don't travel too far so you don't get seen by the fat guy again. Don't miss a shot so you get blasted next to the door, and don't miss the shot to kill the guy across the glass or else he'll kill you first. All of your hard work and effort comes down to this. It's being tested by your pure playing skill. Vengeance is the level that tests it all. If you screw it up, you're done. The run's gone. You can't get it back. This is the moment in the speedrun where it decides everything. It's what makes Vengeance special. It all comes down to this. If you screw this up, it's over. You're done. You can't get it back. And it all comes down to Vengeance. And if you screw it up, you're gonna have to play all these 20 chapters again and again and again until you do it. That is why you have Stockholm Syndrome, and that is the Hotline Miami speedrun list. Thank you.